Welcome everyone to AMGC's webinar. Sorry for the little delay. Like anything with a final webinar, we had some technical issues. So it looks like Ben and I can't be off mute at the same time. So just bear with us as we go through the conversation. But good afternoon and welcome to AMGC's final In Conversation With webinar for 2024. My name is Charmaine Phillips and I'm the director here in Northern Territory for AMGC. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to join in our conversation. I'd like to begin the session today with acknowledgement to country. So in spirit of reconciliation, AMGC acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects today from Larrakia land up here in the north to all elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today from whichever land you're on. So today is the last of our series of 30-minute webinars for 2024. So thank you if you've joined us previously. These were created to give local manufacturers information on national bodies that were available to support and assist them with their manufacturing endeavours here and nationally. So in our previous conversations, I guess we've spoken to the Australian National Fabrication Facility or ANFF, to ANSTO, to Bosch and to ArmHub. But today I have with me Ben Lazaro from, well, the Chief Executive of Australian Made. Welcome, Ben.
Well, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here and I look forward to having a chat later today. I will go back on mute, Charmaine.
We'll work it out. So today's conversation will take about 20 minutes. So if you do have any questions, please use the chat function to send your questions throughout the session because our microphones aren't going to be playing nice with us today. But I've allowed 5 to 10 minutes at the end just to answer those questions. So let's get started. Hey, Ben? So to start the conversation today, I feel that we may have many people on the line who recognise the famous Australian Made logo. Can you please tell us about Australian Made, how long it's been operating and why it is Australia's most trusted, recognised and widely used country of origin symbol?
Sure, thanks, Charmaine. Now, should I share my screen if possible here? Yeah. Okay. It is. Not to complicate things further, but it doesn't appear to be giving me that permission. Are you able to share yours with those slides? Lovely. If we might sneak to the next slide, that would be great. Thanks so much. Yeah, so we're lucky enough here to run the Australian Made campaign. As Charmaine said, I'm the Chief Executive. So the Australian Made logo, many of you will be familiar with it. It's Australia's most recognised and trusted country of origin symbol. It's a country of origin certification trademark that has been around since 1986, where it was launched by the then Hawke government. It went through a number of iterations, ultimately landing with this not-for-profit organisation in 1999. So our job, as I said, is to administer and promote this brand. It enjoys, as you'll see there from the stats, 99% recognition and possibly more importantly, that 92% trust. I think we might have even hit 93 at the last lot of research we did. So the idea of the logo is to be a powerful marketing tool for businesses that are making things in Australia and to make that Australian connection to consumers who are looking to make that purchasing decision and support local products. If we flick to the next slide, Charmaine. We do a lot of research around what people think and essentially what buyers, consumers, business think of buying Australian and why they buy and what are the motivators for buying Australian Made. And you'll see here really pleasingly, really high numbers around Australians, what they associate with the Australian Made logo. Its job is to convey the Australianness of a product, and we'll get to how that is assessed. But you'll see here the idea that Aussie products support local jobs, that there's an implication of high quality and safety. Ethical labour is becoming more and more important for a lot of Australians. And of course, sustainability, another area where businesses, and some of you on the line, I assume, will be focused on these kinds of things. So again, the Australian Made logo is there to demonstrate that a product is Australian, but it also conveys these other really effective marketing messages as well. If we move to the next slide. And what we're here to do here at Australian Made, as I touched on earlier, is we're here to administer and promote the Australian Made logo. So that largely incorporates a licensing process. Again, it's a country of origin certification trademark underpinned by a set of rules that govern its use. So it's our job to make sure that the products that carry the Australian Made logo meet that criteria, and that we make sure that the products that are out in market remain compliant after the licensing period. We have that compliance process that I mentioned before. So you have your licensing. Compliance is ongoing. So that's third-party auditing, that's complaint resolution, that making sure that the product is, the brand is being used in accordance with the rules. And then promotion is a really big part of what we do. So you'll hopefully see our content out in marketplace 365 days of the year. So we're on all platforms, whether it be a digital, social, whether it be your traditional media of TV, radio, and outdoor. We do industry engagement, like this very session that we're doing today. We place a lot of emphasis on talking to those that use the brand. At the moment, that number sits at about 4,500 businesses with the logo used on tens of thousands of products sold here and around the world. And that promotional piece is really important because as a not-for-profit organisation, we use those license fees wisely to maximise the reach of our brand. We want to deliver value to those that use the brand, whether you're in a consumer sector or a B2B sector. The logo is registered across all 34 classes of goods, so that's all of them in Australia. So you'll see that our messaging when it comes to our marketing promotion is intentionally quite generic's not the right word, but very simple messaging about the benefits of buying Australian, whether it's an electric bus or whether it's a vitamin or a baby product. There is value. The values might change depending on the sector, but there is value in buying Australian. And I think that's the last for this one, Charmaine. I think we flick to the next one when you're ready.
All right. So I guess now I'd like to turn, that was a really good summary and a lot of really good information. So now I'd like to turn to the businesses and manufacturers on the line. So for those who are manufacturing or making products here in Australia, yes, you've mentioned the 4,500 that were already registered, but there's been many, many more that are not. What's involved in registering their Australian-made product with you?
Sure. If we just flash up that next slide, and I'll talk to that one to make things a little more straightforward. Yeah, it's a really straightforward process from a application point of view. So there's an online application. Our compliance team here conducts a review. So we ask some information of you, very top line information that you'll have on hand anyway, given the nature of your businesses. So you'll potentially apply to carry the logo on either a product range or an individual product. Our compliance team will review how you're making that product, all of course with the non-disclosures, and we don't share this information. Hopefully it goes without saying. Once you're approved, you're issued an opportunity to pay an annual license fee. That fee is based on the turnover of the products that you're licensing. So to give you an example, our minimum fee, annual fee is $300 a year. It's intentionally, we think, affordable. It's 1/10 of 1% of your turnover. So it's a sliding scale as you go up the scale, maxing out at $25,000 a year. You have to be turning over about 45 million for that, for you to incur a $25,000 fee. You'll see that 1/10 of 1% actually changes as you get further along the scale. It's intentionally affordable. We actually haven't increased our fees for 10 years. When we hit 2024, it'll be 10 years since we've increased the fees. A lot of that is intentional. We want to make this available to businesses of all sizes. I often will talk about you can't buy an ad in the local paper for $300. So to get this really effective marketing tool for as little as that and that sliding scale up, we think is really good value. And my team and I guess, go to great lengths to demonstrate value throughout that license period. And there's a number of opportunities that licensees or users of the logo can leverage once they're on board the campaign. And I'll mute myself now, Charmaine.
All right, flicking through. So I guess for those on the line that haven't quite got their manufacturing innovation or product to the commercialization stage, if you haven't jumped on one of these before, the AMGC up here in the Northern Territory, we do have grant funding under our Advanced Manufacturing Ecosystem Fund to help with that commercialization journey. So I know I've had a couple of local manufacturers in that have already registered with you, which is great. And you're right, it has been costed to be attractive and affordable because it's all about Australian made, Australian owned. So kudos for that. Many businesses on the line who haven't previously looked at the export market may now be looking to export, I guess, with the changes in what's happening around the world. How does having their product registered with Australian Made support businesses for that export success?
Sure. If you just flash up that slide, I can talk to that. I'll just touch on the Made in Australia claim and then move on to the export. I probably omitted it from the last question. So if we just hover on that one for a minute, just to touch on that Made in Australia claim, because it can be confusing for consumers or for businesses. You'll see the definition there, the Australian Consumer Law definition. When you start talking about substantial transformation, as it says there, so we've got to make sure the goods are substantially transformed in the country. So if they were grown or produced, that's easy. But that second dot point is where most of our licensees would sit. So as a result of one or more processes undertaken in the country, the goods are fundamentally different in identity, nature, or essential character from their inputs or their imported components. So making a Made in Australia claim on a product, businesses have to satisfy that substantial transformation test. And the best example to give to put that into context that we can all understand is you can import timber into Australia and make a tables and chairs out of that timber and legally describe that as Australian made. There are some perceptions out there that might think that every single component has to come from Australia. That's not the case. It's this substantial transformation test that must be met. Another example might be you import every ingredient or some ingredients, some from Australia, some from overseas, and turn that into a cake that's made here in Australia. That cake can be described as made in Australia because it's not just about the components, it's about all the other aspects, fundamentally about substantial transformation, but of course all those things that happen in Australia that many of the businesses on the line at the moment do without even thinking. We have high quality standards, we have high safety standards, and so satisfying the substantial transformation test in Australia is enough to satisfy the Made in Australia claim. So I just wanted to touch on that. I can move on to the export slide now, if you like. I've got, I think, 2 slides here to talk to. So as you mentioned before, when you sell overseas, some of the businesses online will be doing that already, and some will be thinking about whether they'd like to dip their toe into the international trade area. Being Australian, for the most part, we automatically have a bit of an advantage in this space because of Australia's reputation of being not only a wonderful country, but one that has a manufacturing sector or a growing sector that has high standards. Oftentimes they're higher than what's required in other parts of the world in some sectors. So quality implications come in, clean, green implications, of course, for things that we're growing here. And we were able to conduct some international consumer research a couple of years ago now. And really pleasingly, you'll see there, again, really high levels of what the impression of the Australian-made logo is in some of those markets. We carried out research in China, east and west coast of USA. We also did 2 European countries in there as well. I think it was France and Germany, and a couple of Southeast Asian countries as well. So the amalgamated results, and these are pretty consistent across the board, of that positive first impression of the logo. They believe the product's carrying the logo from Australia, so that is its job. And so 87% make the connection between the product and Australia. And so for a brand that has been around for a while, but we don't have the resources to conduct enormous marketing campaigns in those overseas markets, the kangaroo does a lot of the heavy lifting for this brand. And even if they don't know a lot about it, you'll see that 72% still become intrigued about the product when they see our brand. So they want to know more, they want to investigate further. So really good results there if you're going into another market. It's not the silver bullet, we don't claim it to be, but it is an essential part of your toolkit when you go overseas. If you are selling product, that being Australian is important to the sale of it, then this is the way to do it with this brand. We have other research that we don't have here today that says other marks aren't trusted. So if you make up a map of Australia or other flora and fauna, our research says they don't work. And depending on what part of the world you're talking to, they will not actually recognise the map of Australia in the way that, of course, we do, because we're very familiar with it. I won't quote a percentage, but I know, take China, for example, very little understanding about the shape of Australia and it being used on Australian products. So just something to be mindful of. And if I flick to that next slide, still on the topic of export, we also, and this is another reason why to use, I guess, a third-party accreditation like ours, is we've done some of the hard work here and registered the logo across multiple international markets. So it protects the brand, registering within the legal system of those markets protects the brand itself. And then there'll be some halo effect onto perhaps protecting the brands that are carrying it as well, because we know counterfeit is a big issue in certain parts of the world. So the deterrent to perhaps copy a product that is carrying a brand that is formally registered in that market, we'd like to think there's a bigger deterrent to doing that than if it wasn't registered. And of course, then you chase them through Australia's legal system and bounced around through however many other systems in the market, you'll go nowhere. But here, and we know this firsthand because we have taken a number of actions in overseas markets to remedy misuse of the brand, and it's because it's registered in those markets that we've had some success. So again, providing that foundation from a legal point of view in overseas markets.
All right. So that was really interesting to me. It sounds like businesses have the opportunity to make such a small investment to expand their market with the, I guess, protection of this branding significantly. So that's really positive. Finally, before we open up to questions from the attendees, because I can see we're getting to the 12:30 already from our late start, AMGC appreciates that manufacturing is a capability and products can be made in any sector. How many Australian-made products do you currently have registered? I know you said over 10,000, but and what are some of the more unique or interesting ones that we may not know about? If you can share, of course.
Sure, absolutely. That's one of the best parts of the job. Me and my team I should say we're a very small organisation. There's about 15 people nationwide, so we sort of pride ourselves on being, small and agile. That's the terminology. It allows us to get things done quickly and effectively, I'd like to think. But it is one of the best aspects of the job of finding out about businesses that are making things from all 34 classes of goods. So if we just fire up that last slide there, I can talk to some of the unique ones that we think are pretty interesting. So you'll see there we do everything from, this is our 4 licensees that we've got, or a few. Playground, anything from playgrounds. So again, safety, quality is of paramount interest when you're looking at things to do with, or products that involve children and their well-being. So really interesting one, that MJ Playgrounds, I think a Queensland-based organisation. Not only are they making product here for the local market, and you'll see Ash Barty, who was our ambassador in that top left photograph there, where we launched our Australian Made Week with her last year. But they're actually exporting these playgrounds overseas, which is pretty hard to believe given how far away we are and the nature of the product, that they're still able to compete in an overseas market while manufacturing here, which is super exciting. You'll see Volvo trucks are made here in Australia. Volvo and Mack trucks are both made here. Again, these are a Brisbane-based company. And they've been producing trucks. I think they just rolled out their 65,000, that's right, truck off the line recently. So, and you'll see there that truck covered in Australian-made green and gold. We think there's nearly a dozen of those driving around Australia. Once, we produced a couple for a promotion with them, and then all of a sudden they were getting orders for trucks to carry that Australian-made branding, the really overt branding you see there. So again, Australia's auto industry is a little different these days. Trucks, buses, electric vehicles is where we're seeing some interest. Bod is an interesting one, a bit more tech-based, so 3D body scanning manufacturer. So they actually make the scanners here, and that allows for purpose-built or customised fit for military or special kind of requirements that some organisations might have, where exact fit is paramount. So really interesting business there. I think they're Sydney based. And of course, we've got a couple of fun ones here. Nothing more Australian than a pair of thongs and some budgie smugglers. And so a couple of fun items that you wouldn't think, gee whiz, thongs, it's nothing more Australian than a pair of thongs. And then turns out, to our knowledge, there's only one, maybe a second one that actually makes these products here in Australia. So, and same with the budgie smugglers. They're a really big success story. Started with a silly, well, not so silly, an idea around a barbecue that's turned into a international business that sends our famous budgie smugglers around the world. So as you can see, a wide variety of products that we license and businesses that we deal with. I mentioned before, there's over 4,500 businesses that now use the Australian Made logo on over 10,000 products licensed with our organisation and ranges. So as I said, really good, enjoyable and interesting role for myself and the team here. We're more than willing and excited to help anyone that wants to come on board and make the best use of their Australianness, as we put it, and help them get that edge in whatever market they want to sell into. We'll throw back to you, Charmaine, and happy to take any questions.
No, thanks, Ben. That was really interesting, because I know through the projects that I've supported up here, getting them to that commercialisation point to then potentially refer them on to you to be recognised under the Australian Made symbol is quite, makes me proud that we're making things here in the Northern Territory, because we're not necessarily really known for manufacturing in the Northern Territory. But as you've just said, it's whatever is being made. It doesn't have to be big. It can be little. It can be thongs. It can be budgie smugglers, whatever. So no, that was really great. And building that local manufacturing sovereign capability is just so critical. So thank you, Ben. Now, if there's any questions, Ben will be happy to answer them. I'll just have a quick look, and we've had a few leaving, but there's one here. Ben, I spotted a product made in Tasmania with a similar triangle symbol, but using the Tasmanian devil and not the kangaroo. Do you have thoughts on state territory jurisdictions doing their own local branding?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I imagine it's product specific or sector specific. Sometimes we know Tasmania's got a great reputation for a range of sectors, you know, whether it be food, health products, anything health related. So you can see in the domestic market, there might be some advantage for them to specifically call out Tasmania. In our experience, what we've found, certainly overseas, and I'll rub people the wrong way sometimes because, when we talk about this, because a lot of the states will take groups overseas and promote the fact that they're from these states. Our research and our understanding is there is very little understanding, depending on which part of the world you go to, about whether it's from Tasmania, Victoria, South Australia. The word Australia will get some resonance, and famous brands with kangaroos will get some impact. If you were to make a made in Tasmania claim, for example, in Southeast Asia, I would be skeptical about how much impact that would have outside of Australia. But domestically, sure, we can understand that that might be useful. I'd encourage you to do both, is make a made in Australia claim, and then if there's room on your packaging and we know that's at a premium, then make the state-based claim as well.
Great, and we've got one more that's come through. Do you organise delegations overseas?
Yeah, another good question. What we try to do is stick to what we're good at, and that's country of origin branding for products. But what we do is partner with organisations that we think are offering an opportunity to do that. For example, we partner with a group called Oztown that took a group to CIIE in China, so the China International Import Expo that recently ran last week, one of the biggest of its kind in the world, and it's a really lucrative one. Of course, COVID has messed up a lot of this sort of activity. So the short answer is we don't do it ourselves, but we would selectively work with partners that we think are offering something useful, and then make it the opportunity known to our licensee base. And we do it through ways like this, through webinars and information, e-newsletters and things like that. And then we encourage our licensees to assess whether it's right for them, because it'll be useful for some, it will be not what others are looking for. So there are others in that space that their job is to do those kinds of things, and they will do it better. And our job is to try and partner with the best ones, and then let the licensees make that determination. And we will also license our branding from time to time to be used at those trade show events. So again, in CIE in China, for example, that whole exhibition space was branded with the Australian-made logo, because just in China, the Australian-made logo has a wonderful reputation. So we've decided that that's a good place for our brand to be, and we'll do it in various other markets as well.
No, I should be proud of the logo. It is recognised, and I've known it all my life. Let me finish by thanking you very much, everyone, for attending, and Ben for jumping on. This session was recorded. We are at about the half-hour mark now, so the recording will be up on the AMGC website in the next day or so. If you do have any other questions, feel free to reach out to Ben. I can share details, or have a look on their Australian Made website, which is australianmade.com.au, and I'm sure you can probably sign up for a newsletter on the website as well, so you can be informed of these expos and travel going forward, or events. So thank you, Ben, and thank you everyone for joining us for our In Conversation with webinar series for this year. We hope to run them again very soon. Thank you. Thank you, Ben.